Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bhando Mui Sabadanandhate Bhando Mui Sarvajanumate Nyahara Prasadeva Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kodiya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Shri Gurudev ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. You can chant song. Kanika. Mahaprabhu song.
Avatarasa? Avatara Sara Gora
Avatara Sara Gora Avatara Thakura Vaishnava Gana, and then we can do Ohe Vaishnava Thakura, and finally Baro Karuna Karo. Nitanda Prabhu? Any Nitanda Prabhu song? Wonderful. Page? Какая?
Danamora Nityananda.
Danamora Nityananda.
People who have leg problems.
We have a whole injured section.
We got a bunch of invalids.
We have chairs and benches.
We're nourishing invalids, the beggars. Okay, you keep some invalids cool.
We should be sending you guys out collecting. This is like the perfect opportunity.
We have chairs and benches.
Kala will place them on the square.
So donation, please. You can walk.
Pick them up later. If they do well, take them to vegetarian restaurant.
We have one devotee in Mexico, and she's in crutches. And we would go out collecting boga, and like everybody would strike out, like nothing. And we bring her along next time, and we were like showering us in vegetables. It was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it works. You have to try it.
Okay, ready?
People want to see things.
Danamora Nityananda Vatimora Gaura Chandra
Danamora Nityananda Jai Sita Gaura Chandra. 50. Thakura Vaishnava Ganam Puriye Nivedana Mobodaya Dhamma Durachara Thakura Vaishnava Ganam Puriye Nivedana Mobodaya Dhamma Saranidhe tahe durabila vidhe keshe dhori more koro para Sadaika Rama Ashe Bandhe Sadaika Rama Ashe Bandhe Nadekita Ranalesha Dehi Sabaklesha Ananda Katare Jipande Kama Krodha Lobha Modaya Bimana Saha Opanaya Opane Tane Tane Kama Krodha Lobha Modaya Achanaya Maramana Hire Jetananda Jnana Supadhari Patana Hijana Navaite Shattamata Asite Manjalo Chita Kui Pado Nakorino Asha Naratama Dase Koi Yamuna, sing the song. Oh, he Vaishnava Thakur. Тестируем слепого ребенка, готов к сбору подаяния или нет еще. На 2 счета. He Vaishnava Thakura, Gora Sagara, Dase Karuna Kori. Jaya Padashaya, Sabade Amare, Tamara Sarana Kori. Jaya Satsavami, Jaya Satsavami, Jaya Luna Jaya Satsvanda, Krishna se tomara, Krishna se tomara, Maharaja What's that?
Let's get started.
Yeah, we are. Chant, hey Baro Karuna Kora.
Hey Baro Karuna Koro, Vaishnava Gosha.
Hey Baro Karuna Koro, Vaishnava Gosha. Jai Shri Vaishnava Goshai, Shri Vaishnava Maharaja, Disappearance Festival, Ki Jai, Jai Shrimati Bhakti Lalita Devi Ki Jai, Jai Shrivan Kala Prabhu Ki Jai, Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, all the devotees Ki Jai. So, dear beloved friends, devotees, today we have a special occasion that we want to concentrate our mind is to remember the pastimes of those who's been extremely merciful to all of us by giving us connection with Krishna consciousness, endorsing our deep faith into Guru Varga and Holy Scriptures. And one of those persons are Sri Vaishnava Maharaj, who's known in the very intimate circle of Gurudev followers and devotees as Shuddha Prabhu. This morning we had an incredible talk about him with Srila Goswami Maharaj, and he mentioned certain slokas which he would love to quote. And he said one interesting thing. He said, when we were brahmacharis, it was very rare that grihastas would know the scriptures and quote the slokas. That was like a brahmachari preacher type kind of task to go on to read the Bhagavatam, to learn the slokas and to jungle the slokas, because Prabhupada would quote them all the time. And so as brahmacharis, we also want to be as great as our guru. But when I met Shuddha, I was very impressed. He also has this tendency towards learning shlokas, and not only that, in his life, as we know him, his daily routine would be to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And read Chaitanya Charitamrita also in Bengali, because in a very difficult situation in his life, he used this difficult situation in a very favorable way, just like now lockdown, and some people going crazy, but some people think, I locked down, might be the best time for me to concentrate on my spiritual life rather my external life. So at a difficult time, Shuddha Prabhu, Vaishnav Maharaj, he learned Bengali, and his daily, we can say, habit was to go on reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he had done that with mood. So when we refer to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, beginning of Jaya Dharma, where he described Sri Navadvip Dham and Prem Das Babaji Mahashoy, and his routine was to give Dandavat to every Vaishnava, every living entity, even the dogs who come into the Holy Dham, give 1,000 Dandavats today, those who are visiting Holy Dham, and evening time to go on reading Prem Vivarta. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur say, and what was the sweet reading of Prem Vivarta, that inhabitants of Navadvip Dham would sit around him and enjoy his divine poetry of Jagannatha Pandit, because that's a very deep poetry, and one who have no taste, he can't express it and share it with others. So Shuddha Prabhu and Vaishnava Maharaj, he loved Chaitanya Charitamrita, and sometimes just watching him reading this book would open joy to the hearts of devotees, and he loved to, he didn't go here and there, so many scriptures. He went to the main one, and he performed an extremely, extremely well that, it kept memories in our heart. And here's Srimati Bhakti Lalita Devi, and Kala Prabhu will say something, because Srimati Bhakti Lalita, she were very intimate, personal servant of Srila Govinda Maharaj. And as Shuddha Shrava and Vaishnav Maharaj also were very much attached to service to Srila Govinda Maharaj personally. He was his personal driver, personal assistant. If he would say personal dog of Govinda Maharaj, he would be like, hey, that's the highest rank you give me. Like if I can be near Govinda Maharaj, I can be anything, a driver, a cook, security. He was incredible. He could immediately impersonate any service. Like I remember when Govinda Maharaj was in SoCal and Shuddha Shrava he specially bought this Cadillac car to drive Gurudev around. He appeared in a hat, like Cadillac drivers.
With the suit.
Yeah, the suit and hat. So then he wants to make Govinda Maharaj feel that he's VIP, and anyway, he would drive Govinda Maharaj, whether there would be aquarium or a border walk. He wants other people to understand this is not some kind of an old Indian monk. This is exalted guru, Vaishnava, and so he would accompany him with very deep respect. I never see somebody pay such a respect to guru, had such a respectable distance, service, attitude. And so if you say word attitude, we know Vaishnava Maharaj was man of attitude. So if you punch him from the wrong way, you get 100 punches back. So seeing this kind of a man, we can say like a macho kind of, very male-like power, to act completely different in front of the guru, translate as a humble servant, as a very, and if Govinda Maharaj would whip him, he wouldn't reply. But, if somebody else, like policeman, would stop him and start speaking, offensively, he would get whipped back, and more than that. So everybody knew that. So seeing this kind of personality, almost like Tarantino movie character, at the same time, when he's in front of Guru, he's like a total different character. That was amazing for me to see. And so let the Bhakti Lalita share something with us. She has sweet memories too.
Well, this morning we had a nice class with Parmananda Prabhu and Krishna Priya, Kalachand Prabhu, and Gaur Nataraj, and we were remembering many things about Maharaj. And I remembered how, and hearing everyone always glorifying and mentioning like something about the rough exterior that Maharaj mentioned. It always comes up when you talk about Vaishnava Maharaj. The rough exterior, but the Vaishnava within. And that's something that we had to see in him. We had to, as Sridhar Maharaj says, mark the bright side and ignore the apparent side. See his good, his inspired side, and this is for harmonizing with everybody. See their good and ignore what is not so good, what is apparently not good. Because Krishna is in control and he knows how to purify his devotees. And very soon that apparent side will be gone. So it's not for us to judge or to get involved with or try to correct. We just see the good, the bright side, and remember that and honor that and find that in the Vaishnava and bring that out to the forefront and make that our focus, seeing all the good. And there was so much good in Vaishnav Maharaj. Getting past the rough exterior, maybe like myself, when I first met him, I had to prove myself first before he would give me the time of day. He thought, like, who is this, like, you know, snobby, aristocratic East Coast girl, you know, coming from Govinda Maharaj's direct association, and like gave me a little hard time for a little bit. And so I just had to be humble and tolerant and give honor, practicing our religion, and appreciating his devotion for Gurudev, his love for the Shastra, his affection for the devotees, and his appreciation for Krishna consciousness, his sincerity that was always visible, even when he was angry or whatever it may be. But going deeper and finding that inspired side within him was something necessary, because he was a glorious Vaishnava and gone too soon. And I noted when Gurudev disappeared, also Vaishnav Maharaj lost his will to fight for his health. Right around the time of Gurudev's disappearance, Shrudha Shrava Prabhu found out he had cancer, and he was undergoing some treatment, but after Gurudev left, he just felt, this is a changed world. This is not a world I really have anything to do with anymore. Govinda Maharaj has withdrawn and gone to the eternal plane. Then I will also just pass my time hearing the scriptures, being with the devotees, and in this way my days are numbered and moving on. And he hoped to one day come in touch with Srila Gurudev again. We're sure he's in Gurudev's loving care and divine association, one way or another. So it was necessary to go a little deeper and see that beauty within, that love and devotion within, and then appreciate the Vaishnava. And we had that chance to practice our faith and our teachings that our gurus have provided us with. So we had so much fun with Vaishnav Maharaj. Most of the time with Shrudha Shrava Prabhu. We knew him as Shrudha Shrava Prabhu until maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, until he left the world. He took sannyas and went out preaching Krishna consciousness, what he did best, what we still love to hear. And we have fortunately so many recordings of him giving his beautiful talks. And they're always so relevant to our fallen condition. Hearing from him gives us hope, and he makes it so understandable and appreciable that all of us aspiring for Krishna consciousness can take to heart and understand and appreciate and go on with encouragement. So Vaishnav Maharaj is dear to our hearts, and we're so blessed we got to know him in this life and to spend some time and travel with him on Gurudev's tours. It was always an adventure. So I think we'll hear from Kalachand Prabhu, who is second oldest son, right?
Correct.
Just for those who doesn't know closely Shrudha Shrava Prabhu Vaishnava Maharaj, I just want to say he had incredible, his wife is incredible, Sanatana Didi. She is really true Vaishnavi and still giving so much service to devotees, and she's like a mother of our SoCal, practically global devotees that knew her very well, and she would eagerly come to Avadhut Dham and Vrindavan and serve Srila Gurudev and allow Shuddha Prabhu Vaishnav Maharaj to travel and preach. And she's kind of like Surabhi's sacred cow, as we say. You know, women has a sacred position in Vedas. When husband die, the wealth and treasure and properties goes to the son. Then question is why? The answer is because mother is sacred. She's already possessor. Mahaprabhu said this to his mother Ai, Mother Shachi. He said, "My body belonged to you." And Mother Shachi was, very deeply observed into Gaura Prema, and giving particular blessing to Mahaprabhu to stay in Puri, that she can receive some news that whatever the Mahaprabhu associates would come, she wanted to live by news and by memories. So we know Sanatani Didi also, she's kind of our women type hero, because in her lifetime she had to tolerate her husband taking sannyas and going.
Even before that, Maharaj, she had to tolerate.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about specific her pastimes with her husband taking sannyas and being deadly ill, because when he took sannyas, it wasn't just, hey, let me, tour and travel holy places. His sannyas was like self-sacrifice. He knew that he can extend his life by taking care of his disease, or extend his life to the limit by taking sannyas and go and die on the road, which technically happened. So, because as Bhakti Lalita mentioned, he had the diagnosis, and I spoke to him because we had pretty equal liver problem, and he just chosen not to. He's chosen not to deal with that problem, health, rather to deal with problem of immortality and divine service, which is called die to live. So in his own life, he had experienced that very in principle, self-sacrifice and the member of and daughters.
4 sons, 4 daughters.
4 sons.
Almost a baseball team.
Yes. Go ahead.
Well. How's that? Good? Like Maharaj was saying, it's very difficult to sum up his life in 1 hour, 1/2, 1 day, even 1 week. It's a very exciting life he lived. And previously around this time, I would always travel to Mexico to be with the devotees there. He had a very, very intimate, very long relationship with all of the Mexican devotees, the Mexican community there. As most of you know, he took sannyas from Srila Bhakti Kusham Asha Maharaj. You see up there the center photo, and Srila Janara Maharaj. And it was always really inspiring to go to these places and to reconnect with all of the devotees there and see how much, not just influence, but how much guidance and inspiration he gave to such a large community. And now recently, this last 2 years, because of Avadhut Maharaj, we've had the good fortune of spending time here in Chiang Mai, and really was reminded of how much preaching and how much help he gave to Avadhut Maharaj and of course to Srila Govinda Maharaj in the early days of the Russian mission. Like Bhakti Lalita was saying, he usually would go to India like 2 or 3 times a year. And he had a very beautiful, very intimate relationship with Srila Govinda Maharaj. Really incredible to even try to understand how that happened, because like Maharaj was saying, he had a very troubled life, a very tumultuous youth growing up, all these things. And you never would ever think that this person would even probably live to be like in their 20s. But not only that, then to meet the devotees, to be initiated by Srila Prabhupada, and then to be brought in through Goswami Maharaj and one of his friends, Raghavendu, who was able to get to Srila Guru Maharaj in the early 80s, and then from there to Govinda Maharaj. And it was really an unusual path that he took, but it was always fully devoted, fully surrendered, fully chaste, fully loyal. You know, today especially, we always get reminded, people say that he was a very angry person. But really, I mean, in a sense he was, but it wasn't...
Not angry.
Not angry, and it was never angry for unnecessary things. He never like wasted it just to bother you. And one quality that I've been reminded of more in the last years is that he never chastised people for like mundane faults. Because he knew he came from a light. He committed every sin possible. He did every possible bad choice you could make, he did it. And he knew that as long as you maintained proper spiritual principles, this really wouldn't have that much harm on you. You could get through it, you could move past it, and you could ultimately just forget about these things. So he never really picked on people for this stuff. I mean, even myself, I was living a whole life, I'm still living a life of nonsense, but he never once like chastised me about what I was doing, even as his son. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You should be doing this, you should be doing that. Not even one time. But if anybody did like anything even remotely wrong in the temple or in their spiritual life, I mean, Alita can know, it was like immediately on you. Immediately on you. And usually heavily. Some people got more heavily chastised. I'm sure Lalita saw quite a bit of it in India. But it was never for like these little mundane, you know, people having problems with intoxications, all these kind of things. It was like in one ear, out the other. He saw personally from Srila Govinda Maharaj that these things really didn't matter to him. If they didn't matter to Srila Govinda Maharaj, why would he care? He knew that if you're loyal to your guru, if you have faith, if you're fully surrendered, all these mundane things, they pass right through you. It's a non-factor. One particular story is funny, is right after he took sannyas, we went down to Mexico to take sannyas in Tijuana. And it was like all night they were awake trying to pick his name. Him, Asha Maharaj, and Janana Maharaj. It was like from 9 o'clock at night until probably 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning, going through the whole book of all the names. How about this one? You say, no, I don't like that name. I don't like that name. And Janana Maharaj would bring this, okay, no, we'll go through, how about this name, this name? No, I'm not having that name. For like hours and hours, all night. And the ceremonies the next day, it's, you know, like an 8-hour fire sacrifice for the sannyas ceremonies. It's like a really long day. And they're up like all night. No, forget it. I'm not going to take that name. No. And then finally they get to Vaishnav Maharaj. Vaishnav Maharaj. How do you spell it? And he's like, with a B, not a V. Okay. But with a B, Vaishnav Maharaj, not Vaishnava Maharaj. Then I can tolerate it. He's like, okay. It's fine. Settle on that name. And right after when they got back to Santa Cruz, there's like along the ocean, he would like to go and take a walk. There's like a boulevard with a path. Him and Janana Maharaj would go there to, you know, get their morning exercise and have a walk. And there's an area where tourists and people could park their RVs who are camping, and it's a beautiful part of the beach there. It's like a 1 kilometer walk. So every day this was their routine. They kind of go along there and have a walk and have a chat. And they're walking together, him and Janana Maharaj. And somebody's sitting in an RV kind of watching them get closer and closer. And they're kind of looking at him, and the guy comes up and he says, oh, can I ask you guys something? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you're both monks. And I can understand. You, pointing to Janana Maharaj, you look like a monk. He's like, but you, like Vaishnav Maharaj, you look like you just got out of like the witness protection program or something. Like, you walk like a gangster or something. Like, are you really a monk? Are you like hiding from the government or something? He had this kind of like walk like this, like super fast. It was so hilarious. But like Avadhut Maharaj was saying, it's such a really an amazing life, and his preaching was really something incredible to even now to see, and the influence that it still has on the younger generation and the devotees who came into the mission after he was gone. I mean, luckily Avadhut Maharaj has such a wonderful collection from his preaching in Russian. You have like thousands and thousands of recordings. And he was always so happy to go to Russia to be with Maharaj there, really. It wasn't always easy. I mean, you can imagine going from India. He would go to India first, so he'd be in India in Gaur Purnima time with Srila Govinda Maharaj. Anybody who's been to India knows how beautiful it is to be in Avadhut. And then he would get asked to go to like northern Siberia in like December and have to like leave India and small circle of Srila Govinda Maharaj and go into like minus 40 degrees. And he was always happy to do it. He's never barked at it or never scoffed at it. We all remember seeing the photos of him doing the Harinam in Siberia and minus 40 degree temperatures, and how much Srila Govinda Maharaj loved seeing this die to live attitude, this wanting to die in the harness, like Bhakti Sharanga Goswami Maharaj said. And really that was his attitude, up until the very end. He took sannyas in June of 2011, and then basically right after went to Brazil, went to Mexico, Italy, China, Thailand, Japan, back to Mexico, to the US, and then we're going to come back to Thailand again right before he passed. So really he was like fired up, like they gave him, like Maharaj said, he had no interest of doing all this chemotherapy, liver transplants. When Srila Govinda Maharaj left, it was like his whole reason, not his reason, but really his motivation, his inspiration for continuing kind of drained him. But having taken the sannyas, it really gave him this last kind of push to really empty himself wholeheartedly into the mission and to give every last drop that he had. But really on these days, I really love hearing from all the devotees who had such wonderful stories and experiences with him. But my experiences were always different being the son, so I always had a different kind of connection. Most of these things I actually never really heard much about. You know, that shows you how little he spoke of all these, not accomplishments, but all these endeavors and activities that he did. He never really praised himself or spoke about it in kind of a pompous way. Most of these activities and things I would hear from the other devotees. He'd say, oh, he came here, we did this, we did that. He helped you with such and such and such and such. So really it was really wonderful to get to travel around and to meet all the people who he affected and who he helped so much. And certainly one of those people is Srila Bhakti Bimal Avadhut Maharaj, who I'd like to give the microphone back to now, because he has a ton of stories of their time in Russia and the very early days of the mission, as well as India. And really, it's very exciting. I'm very honored to have you all here and to be able to share these days with you on behalf of the family and everybody. So, Jai Srila Bhakti Sharan Vaishnav Maharaj. Jai.
So we're very fortunate to hear from Kala Prabhu, because it says, actually I do have a microphone. It says in Vedas, the guru leaving his son, or the brahmana, or a spiritual person, he leaving his progenies. Four things, according to Vedas, will remain with you after life. Number one is reactions for the good spiritual deeds you did. Number two, the spiritual knowledge you learn. Number three, the progeny that you produce. Because putra, son, in Vedas mean one who not only liberates his father from hell, that's kind of a very mundane observation, is to one who's continue his father glorious. And in India we can see, like, normally the son will continue father's shop or his brahminical duties or other duties. So the good deeds, knowledge, and whatever the progeny you produce, if that progeny are favorably raised, not just materialists or, mundane people. So in the life of Vaishnava Maharaj, we see he accomplished all of them because he had incredible sukriti of association with such a person like Govinda Maharaj Prabhupada and all the Vaishnavas. Number two, he had deep insight, Charitamrita, which means actually, technically speaking, internal message of Mahaprabhu, which is not so much known to even common devotees. Number three is having children that children, wife, and grandchildren who connect with Krishna consciousness and continue practicing life, as we see Kala's. And I'm thinking, like, why did he stay somewhere else? Why he didn't stay with us all this time? He would be like, we would make this place paradise, like, because I like people who get things done. You know what I'm saying? Is like, because a lot of people there talk about things, but someone like Kala, he can, like, once you start shoveling the pond, I don't think they're going to finish. But I see that Kala got on it, and even not having so much help, his determination, mood remind me of his father. And I see on Govardhan Puja, the Govinda Kund appear with a beautiful fountain and, the help of Gaur and others. But so I'm thinking that was pride of Shuddha Shravan Prabhu. He would be happy to see us continue. He would be happy to see us living as a family on the land. And he would want to come here and stay with us and nourish Chaitanya Charitamrita, take prasadam. Like, one of his desire was, like, when we were talking about things, like, he's taking, like, one day I kind of take sannyas, or like one day I'll take a RV and I drive to America, I cook khichdi and I preach. Like, he's almost had this Hollywood last shot where the hero is driving somewhere towards the sun. But in his last shot, it was him in a very simple life with the khichdi, cooking khichdi, just be on the road, drive, 8-10 hours a day, it doesn't really matter. Come, see what devotees preach, chant, glorify Krishna, and that would be his satisfaction. So he was kind of a man that if you ask him, give me your last shirt, he will just immediately give it to you. So that's very dharmic, because that's like kind of a Pandavas thing. Pandavas, they would not deny anybody would come and ask them anything. So he would be like that, giving you last ruble, last shirt, And again, like when somebody say, well, he's an angry guy, but there's also opposite of anger. See, what you really hate is neutral people, no emotions. Like, you don't know if they're angry, or don't know if they're happy, or like they're careless, they're emotionless. With him, it was always the emotion. And sometimes divine emotion, sometimes external emotion, sometimes internal emotion, but he was a very emotional person. He would be touched by certain things. Sometimes you would see on Harikatha, he would be touched. And some people who, no idea, they would be touched. Like, they would be just sitting there and technically feeling the space when Gurudev would speak or Goswami Maharaj would speak, but he would be touched by conversation. And you can see on his face expression and emotion, so that you understand he's getting on some deeper level. It penetrates to his heart. So when he decided not to fight for the temporary life, is that when he saw Govinda Maharaj's disappearance, and there were very few of us, and that very last days of, and we're lucky we spent about 3 to 4 months, last months of Srila Govinda Maharaj, his life, and so Shuddha Shravan Prabhu were there, and Lalita, and we could see in very last days of Srila Govinda Maharaj, at one point he was very sad, from another point he really want to help Gurudev. He wants to come to him like when I say like a dog, I don't mean in a negative way. We do have wonderful dog here. We know how it's open and like no barriers. So he would come to him like with no barriers and like look at Govinda Maharaj and see like, how can I help you? But there's nothing you can do, because that's the nature of intrinsic time, where we're all going to go one day. So what he was very much, kind of emotionally taken by the situation. And so I remember living with him in the very last days of Srila Gurudev passed away, and we almost share a room or spend daily time together. And, sometimes we would get pizza and then after Govinda Maharaj passed away, after some time, he just decided to take sannyas and do his own last you can say pastime, lila, last fight, last struggle, just going on and preach. And although he were very, very ill, because taking lots of medicine, taking a lot of, and speaking very ill, but I spoke with him and he told me, like, I really want to come to Russia and preach. Like, we can understand, physically that would never be possible to happen, but that was his mood of dedication, that he wants to go, he wants to dedicate. He always asked about devotees, always talked about, how's Vijay doing, say hello to Satya Sundar, and remember the Siberian devotees. And one story is very interesting. So when he went to tour of Siberia, we had someone from Bersk, which is, they're like this kind of a crime shitty towns in Siberia where the industrial, which means like gundas live, and like, drugs and alcohol. So it's near Novosibirsk. That's one of those kind of like, towns. So he went to that town to meet one devotee who came and got initiated. And that devotee had many friends, but he was very neophyte devotee, but his friends were like junkie, criminals, a bunch of like very much kind of local gang people, I would say. But they love Shudashava so much, and all of them give initiation. So when I came to see, because I know a little bit about Russians, I see kind of like junkie gangs. And I'm like, oh my God, because I wasn't mind them being Hare Krishna, but I thought, because I knew this world a little bit, I know when they're coming to any society, they have their own rules. So that's why in Russia, at a certain point, they stopped prison preaching programs. In the beginning, they were like very happy to preach in prisons, but they don't, especially like Western devotees, who like, the gurus and would come and talk, prisons. And they would, in the 90s, they would allow you to preach in Russian prisons, but they don't understand what the prison is. It's the whole world. So when these people come out of prison, they kind of go to temple. To them, it's like a prison. So they would start treating devotees differently, because devotees are, they don't know world of justice. They live in a world of mercy. So I thought, well, Shudashava brought these guys from world of justice. But one thing you can say, these people from world of justice, they value like brave heart, honesty. Like they don't like politics. It doesn't say that. They're just like very straight dealings. So when they saw him, something penetrated their heart. They thought, this kind of a guy, the way he acts, the talk, but he has something like us, but he has something more superior than us. He has something very deep. So they were able to see that in his heart and surrender. And in the world of justice, it's very impossible. So there was one story when we came to one festival near Tomsk, about 70 kilometers, and that's like a country music, like in Russian, like in French it's called chanson, in America called rap. In Russian, that's kind of slang prison songs. And every Russian knows them. It's just guitar and prison songs. Everybody knows them. Because Russia was one big prison at a certain point. So they told, there's like, Bart music or chanson festival. So we came down there. It was heavy rain and very cold, because in Siberia, even summer is like very cold. We had jackets, and so we set up pandals and we started doing kirtan. And when we came there, we saw like everybody drunk, and they're not even in tents. They're just in the cold rain, drunk, like drinking vodka and like. So we came in and started cooking prasadam, halva, and make a pandal, so hopefully people will join us. And we started chanting kirtan, but and we were like, trying to chant very enthusiastically, and girls are like, with their boobs, they're like jumping. But those guys came and we saw like a bunch of wolves, because they don't smile. They look at us. No reaction. Because in prison you can't do it. You can't react. You have to. But one thing I detect, they can't mark us. They can't put us in any of their mental box. They don't understand what we are. A bunch of like, animal. And they're like, and in that world, you just can't smile. That's why I say the Russians don't smile. In certain place where you smile on somebody, they think you're offending them. You smile on them. Am I funny? So we've been doing our best. No reaction. No one participated in kirtan. Nobody clap hands. They're just like. And then after kirtan, we start giving, like, walking around with a big pot and giving everybody halava. And they would be like drunk, and sometimes they would take a bowl, like, what is this? Taste. Somebody throw, somebody like taste, drink vodka with that, like, okay, good. And normally tell us, like, get the hell out of here. But we like distribute prasadam everybody, but no favorable reaction. On the very end, we were packing and going. Some people told us, stop. And I said, what do you want? And he's like, we really respect you guys. You came here with your prayer, you give your food, we chase you away, but you remain true to your religion, and you've done your duty. You guys the best. And now I understand, these guys by heart can't show their appreciation or can't understand, but they felt very deeply in their heart that we came with them with a good heart and did something good for them. So as Sridhar Prabhu, he traveled in those kind of places and would speak to those kind of people, and he would find words to touch their hearts, because he was not like, raised, in Beverly Hills. He was raised in New York, and many times when Prabhupada devotees would come to kirtan, he and his other friend would dress in leather jackets and go behind parikrama to secure, to protect. So if some redneck would try to harass devotees or girls, drunk, they would come and beat shit out of him, and like, but because, their hats and jackets look like gang, but really protect devotees, because they knew, like, if devotees start fighting in devotee dress, does not look good. So they said, we'd rather look like gangsters, like gundas, and we can easily adjust those bastards that try to stop Harinam or harass girls or like try to, just be offensive, because that's happened many, many times. When you go into specific kind of uncultured areas, people wouldn't be reacting super favorably. So he've done that kind of a service. Actually, he liked to do this service. And, he loves motorcycle. So he would always drive with gun in the pocket, leather jacket, motorcycle. And he would and you would think why motorcycle? But he needs to have this kind of extreme life, He wants to have this extreme life. He would not be expecting just life as sitting on a couch, eat something, food cooked by your wife, and chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That was not his program. It's actually never been a program to those who's looking for, difficulties, because by challenge you'll get inner power. So that was so he was not afraid of having challenges. At the same time, as we said, he really showed how to be a friend, because he valued friendship so much. And if you do something wrong, according to his book of friendship, he would be very offended. Because you cannot treat like this friend. When you have a friend, technically, if you would come to his house, he would put you to sleep on his bed and sleep on the floor himself, or give you his last dollar. And many times I thought, you've got all these 4 daughters, 4 sons, how you travel to India, how you survive, how you pay your bills. That, to me, it was always I could not understand how this man lived. But somehow he said, well, I'm helping this doctor get a job. And I understood a lot of people that he worked for just love him as a person. They love his loyalty, they love his, it wasn't a question about this wealthy doctor he worked for could hire, 20 other guys, young guys or cheaper guys, But when he saw him, something in him, he wants to support this person. So that's why, really, when you are surrendered, Krishna somehow will maintain and protect. And that is the main principle of devotion, of Sharanagati. So he lived by that principle. He passed away by that principle. It was very difficult for him. In the very last moment, he had incredible pain because he had like liver cancer and wouldn't want to do operation, wouldn't want to extend his life, just thought of how to do his last breath with Krishna consciousness. And that's a very glorious end. Because according to demon Vritrasura, there are two ways of living this world. One on the battlefield for the Dharma and one in mystic yoga, especially Bhakti yoga. Because we're all going to die, how are we going to die? And we see very few people, like Rishabdev, who was another great husband of Sanatani. He also passed like this in Navadvip. Although he had called to doctor to take him to hospital Calcutta, but he passed away in front of Srila Govinda Maharaj in Holy Dham, Chaitanya Saraswat Math. All the doctors were going to take him out. So these are some extraordinary devotees. So when we talk about Janardana Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj, Sarva Bhavana, Shruta Shrava, Harshipri, they're kind of like special group of people. What is their dealings between themselves? We don't go that far because, just like in our land, there's like Surya Bandhu doing, he's not talking to and like Kala is doing this, and Paramananda has his own, we say one Bengali guru, two Bengali orchestra, three Bengali, five political parties. So we have 5 political parties too sometimes. But that is all external, because in the core of heart, we love him. He's like, I'm thinking with him with always like sweet memories. And I'm thinking, if I ever lucky, I'll meet him again. It doesn't really matter where, heaven or hell, because he could come and preach anywhere. He probably want to go preach to hell. If somebody will tell like, hey, we need some people to preach in hell, he'll probably raise hand first without thinking twice. And that was his amazing quality. And at one time I asked Srila Govinda Maharaj, who is that Vasudev Ghosh? Why is he so famous? And Gurudev said, you have not read that? I said, no. He said, because he have said to Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu, please let me suffer for the sin of every living entity in eternal health, but you please liberate them. Then Mahaprabhu said, just because I have devotees like you, I promise I will liberate every living entity. Because I need an excuse. I as a God, I create the laws of karma. I cannot break it. But because of my devotee, that excuse you're willing to take all the burden of the old sins of conditioned souls and willing to suffer eternally for my satisfaction and for their salvation, just because I have devotee like you, I'm promising I will liberate them all. So this is a good end to end up. Jai Srila Vaishnav Maharaja ki jai. Srila Shuddha Shava Prabhu ki jai. Sanatani Didi ki jai. Kala Prabhu ki jai. Divine Family ki jai. Srimati Bhakti Lalita ki jai. SoCal Community ki jai. And really, I'm sure they're celebrating it today in SoCal, and Janardana Maharaj and his particular mood, and all the devotees, they're cooking. They're actually, yoga is food. They all concentrate around food. When you go to SoCal, it's,
Religion.
Yes, it's not like, here people try, but it's incredible what kind of offerings they make. Just incredible. How much they appreciate prasadam. I don't think anybody here has even glimpse, Chinese devotees try to make something for Goswami Maharaj, which is wonderful. But my point is, this whole ashram is based on prasadam. So Sanatani would come and cook, and like Shuddha Shrava and Sanatani would come and cook, and Sureshwari and all the ladies of SoCal, and they're like, and like to them it's like serious. It's not like us, especially Russians, they don't understand food. Because their nature, it's like, they know computers, they know some other things, but not the food thing is not in their list. There's a lot of, they're not foodies, they're just simple eaters. They, you know, like I've been impressed, like even like Jan, he's like, hey, what do you, like dasharak. It's a common Russian nerd food. Those like noodles with hot water. They're happy with that. You know, like I would meet some guy, like he'd be happy, like eat bread and butter like sandwich. Maybe make some ugly, like, you know, like you would go there and see, hey, how these people live? Because I normally like to well-cooked food. I can't eat untasteful food. I'd rather be like raw eater or healthy eater, because then I know it's like medicine. But when I go to Goswami Maharaj, I know at least I'll get something tasty, you know, something. Because with Govinda Maharaj, you can't get by with health food. No. In Govinda Maharaj world, you have to like eat.
Oil and
if Gurudev, like those, I don't want to mention that person's name, but Gurudev saw him eating apples, and Gurudev hated. Because in Gurudev, if you're in front of Gurudev, they're giving you prasadam. If you're denying this, like you're mentally sick. Because Gurudev had so much appreciation of prasadam and the way he would take prasadam, but he makes sure you eat prasadam. It's not just Gurudev eating. He's like, give him one more of this, give him more of that. Like he would see everybody's plate. You know, taking prasadam with Govinda Maharaj was not a mundane. It was very spiritual. And just like I said, Vaishnav Maharaj would be nearby, and he would have his own little Chaitanya Charitamrita in Bengali. If Gurudev forgets some sloka, he would like quote, and you know, Gurudev would, in appreciation exchange, give him something deeper, inner, and he would be so happy. And then he would talk to you. You know, and then it was like, hey, let's go drink some tea. We could drink tea anywhere, but we go to the tea stand. And you'd say, so what was Gurudev talking to you? Oh, you know, he's giving me that insight of that sloka of Charitamritam. And I never see someone who has so much attachment to Charitamritam. It's really incredible book. But I don't see that people have that incredible, and like you really, if you get that poetry right of Krishnadas Kaviraj, because remember, some of that poetry in Charitamrita belongs to Prabodhananda Saraswati, and some of the Bhagavad slokas and other slokas. You know, it's a very, very deep book. It's not just something, you know. Krishnadas Kaviraj wrote this book on the very last part of his life. So this book is a collection of the most incredible divine treasure, nothing equal to that book, because it's just giving complete insight, but you won't get it until you read the commentaries. Actually, even that you cannot get. You only need somebody to put you on. And that's what is Guru Maharaj's specialty. And Gurudev, inner meaning of Gaur Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that would be the specialty in Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, and he's got it. He's got it all. So what can I say? So fortunate tonight with the presence of real witnessing devotees and other inspiring devotees in our younger group. Myself, you know, like, what can I do? You know, first time when Vaishnav Maharaj whipped my ass, happened like this. So when I just joined, at that time I worked hook up with Giri Maharaj, I met him by coming to Sokhel, and I said to him, so that means Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, their message can bring many, many, you know, devotees? And he said, no, that is not. I'm like, what? Because my thinking was like a preaching, extending. He said, no, that is not. He said, not the quantity, the quality. And he's like, giving me a whole thing about what is the quality, and I was like very new devotee at that time. It was difficult for me to get my ass whipped.
Actually, in the beginning, he really didn't like you, Maharaj.
Nobody liked him.
Satya Sundar, he said he really didn't like him. And then what happened was we were at the temple in Sokel, and Vaishnav, he came down late at night, 11 o'clock, and he saw Jagannath Bala and Satya Sundar in the kitchen after everything was closed, scrubbing all the pots in Sokel, scrubbing all the pots by themselves in the dark, cleaning all the pots, cleaning the floor, cleaning all of the kitchen things. And this like fully melted his heart. And from that point on, he really changed his mood forever. You won him over. But really, in the beginning, it was like, who's this kind of sneaky Russian guy? He's kind of weird. He's kind of this.
No, I tell you why he doesn't like me.
And then it was washing the pots.
No, that was good, but I tell you why. When I came, I said to Govinda Maharaj, I want to recording you singing, and Govinda Maharaj loves it. But then Govinda Maharaj is very tricky because he will surrender to your hands and say, what songs you want? And I would start calling the shots because that song of the heart, that's not a proper order of singing songs. Because I give to Gurudev a playlist. And so Sridhar Shrava was trying to explain to me, hey, like, let the Guru decide what to sing. But Govinda Maharaj said, no, stop it. But then, you know, what interesting was that when he saw, because see, Govinda Maharaj was very shy. He wouldn't want to say, hey guys, I want to be recorded. You know, Govinda Maharaj was like very gentle, like, you know, gentle soul, number one. Number two, he was not understanding the technology and things. What happened was one guy who recorded Prabhupada, who is that guy? He's a studio devotee. He's not from SoCal, from San Francisco, I guess.
Yeah, not Mukunda.
But he was a guy who recorded Prabhupada. So I said, we want to record your songs. And this guy told me, like, really? You've got Govinda Maharaj approval to record? I said, yes, but I want to, you know, like, I have no idea what the recording is. He said, actually, I'm a recorder. I did record Prabhupada. You know, let me, and he's the guy who brought, like, machine pulled, and we just stay in the room, and he said, okay, you play kartals, but you stay a little bit. Here, put the blankets. Here, like, we were all in a room, but this guy, for some divine reason, because he was a sound engineer, he adjust everybody who will play where, because he understood we only had limited microphones, and he also did mastering in the studio. So, and he brought the gear. So that was my desire, but actually it was Krishna's desire. And the way it was, that Govinda Maharaj was super happy. He was just sitting right like this on a chair. They wanted to sit around him. And the sound engineer, like hearing the sound, adjust everybody. Okay, you play kartals here, you play mridanga here. And Govinda, and we were all chanting together with Gurudev. So that album, Song of the Heart, and that's why he was super happy. Then Sridhar Shrava was like realizing, yeah, something more than just
crazy guy in his short pants.
Right. So something.
Long,
and
wild
second
hair.
thing is like, the second person I got really mercy from, Sridhar Shrava, that I've got mercy from Vaishnav, because I told him, I'm going to Russia and I brought with me machine, the copy machine, to copy the tapes of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But Rishabdev had the second copy of the tapes. But he told me, like, I'm not giving them away to anyone. And I said to him, well, I'm kind of going to Russia to preach, and, you know, I want Russian devotees to know. And he's like, I'm not giving them away to anyone, but I'll give them to you. And then he saw me making everyday copies, and, you know, that's, you know, you conquer devotees by service. You see, I came with machine, clean temple, with a team, because that's the first time we came, we stayed in a tent like Lilavati. There was not enough space when Govinda Maharaj came in California. It was just like 2 houses, a temple house and sannyasi's house. So we just stayed in the property in a tent. That wasn't a problem. Clean kitchen all night, wake up early.
Beautiful time.
Yeah, so like big feast, big prasadam.
Big kirtan.
Every day, big kirtan, big prasadam. Daytime, Govinda Maharaj was going out. to see the aquarium, to see the sea. Sometimes we'll climb to the mountain and observe. That's really, really sweet. But anyway, there are two types of devotees in our mission. One type of devotee is thinking, oh, we had very sweet days, they never come back. I'm sure it's like that. But I know our best time is ahead of us. Even when pandemic time came, I said, I think now a very good time coming. I felt auspicious. Because certain extreme situations make you think different and move. So there are some people lamenting, showing their pictures on Instagram. Look at me, I was very slim, I was very young and a dhoti. Yeah, there are people because they're sitting home doing nothing. And maybe can't do anything. Maybe that's their best memory. But my thing is like Vaishnav Maharaj, he didn't lament. He said like, okay, if this best times is over, let me die to live. Let me do something great. Not just sit and lament about best times I ever had with my guru. No, like sacrifice, pay off, give, as the Vikings would say, please the gods, not the guy next door to you, or don't please the social media, please gods, please Krishna. Don't try to please people on social media, they won't be pleased anyway. So, like that. Anyway, so. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hare Hare. So when I remember Rishabdev, Ramai, Siddhanti Maharaj, Vaishnava Maharaj, Parvat Maharaj, so many devotees already gone.
We thought we were going to lose Dikshavati last year, but she made an amazing turnaround.
Yeah. Yudhamanya Prabhu.
Yeah.
Like you see it, within a very short time, so many devotees gone.
Back to Gurudev's veranda. Got called back.
Yeah. But I got a feeling they're in a good place, like,
No doubt, Maharaj.
maybe they're in Valhalla right now.
No doubt.
drinking,
Best place.
drinking Charinamrita and pastimes of Mahaprabhu and having a good time
Yep.
in Srila Govinda Maharaj entourage and not doing that bad actually.
No.
We actually not also doing that bad. I think they would chastise us a little bit, but they would be happy. Like, you know, I'm thinking about many times of Gurudev. He would love this place. He probably stay in that room where I'm staying. Obviously, it's his room. I consider that's his room. But he would stay in that room, take prasadam with Goswami Maharaj, sit on veranda, go to Royal Flora, go here, go to Paramananda. You know, he would be super pleased here. And people would come here from all over the world. This temple every night would be like beautiful Harikatha, and you know, he would take tea.
Garam jal.
Yes, he would be yeah. So he would love the place, and I think he's giving us the place. Because this place is very auspicious, you know. But anyway, what?
He's here taking seats permanently.
Oh, definitely. I don't have any doubt of his watching above. I just thinking how much he would be pleased personally to be here and talk about Mahaprabhu and Jai. So forgive me now, I have to do a Russian program.
Jai, Shri Bhakti Bimal Maharaj ki Jai.
His name, Srila Prabhu, because I want to do like 2 programs at the same time.
No problem.
You guys can go. You did wonderful service today.
Thank you, Maharaj.
We have to do this Bugambilia, Shmugambilia, the fans, and we have to make a list with your videos.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, because so tomorrow.